Alrighty then. Hey everyone, back again. This is the first video on my channel about revising and making much better my movie reviews, and this is the first one, obviously. So, yeah, and the movie I'm going to be reviewing first, in preparation for The Amazing Spider-Man coming out, is all three of the Spider-Man movies made by Sam Raimi. If you do not like them, turn away now and can't handle people thinking differently than you. Turn away now, because I really loved all three of these movies, and I turn my fan off here to... no, I'll just turn it down a little bit. Just make it a little bit quieter in here. Yeah, so I'm going to start with Spider-Man 1. Now, if you're wondering, first off, if you're wondering why I'm a bit further away right now than I usually am in my videos, that's because my camera isn't on my stand right now. Why? Because it broke. So now I'm actually sitting on my bed here in my room with my camera stand all the way over here on my computer stand, so I can fit into the screen and whatnot. So yeah, so what I'm gonna have to do for now until I can get a new stand or a new camera and stand all together. I really love that. Much bigger camera that can store a lot more memory and whatnot. Plus this camera's just going to shit. I've had it forever. But anyways, Spider-Man 1. Funny thing, really, I don't have the disc of this, so I'm gonna have to rebuy it. Actually, I went back and rewatched it just now. I had to find it online. So I'm gonna have to rebuy this unless I can find the disc somewhere. Funny, because I lost the disc, but the case is still in mint condition. Look at this. This is just beautiful. Anyways, so Spider-Man 1 came out in 2002. And it was directed by Sam Raimi, who has previously worked on works such as the Nightmare on Elm Street, such as the Evil Dead trilogy, and I believe he's done some Western films as well, if I'm not mistaken. And it stars the acting talents of Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, James Franco as Harry Osborn, William Dafoe as Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, Rosemary Harris as Aunt May Parker, Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben Parker, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, and much more. And the movie, well, if you know Spider-Man, and first let me tell you about my history of Spider-Man. I've been a Spider-Man fan ever since I was a kid. I read the comics throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. I watched the shitty 90s cartoon show. It was extremely cheesy, but I didn't care. It was Spider-Man, so why would I care? And I still love it to this day. Going back and watching it. I have it on DVD, so yeah. But it's really good, I think, despite how cheesy it is. But of course, I saw every single Spider-Man movie in theaters on their opening day, and of course, I really liked this movie as a kid. Now, going back and rewatching it since I haven't watched this movie since 2005, probably. I don't know, it might have even been later or earlier than that I watched it. It's not as good as it was back then. I mean, it's definitely a dated movie, in the sense that if you go back and watch it now, it's definitely not as good. Okay, there's a lot of things about it that just aren't as good, but it's still a great movie. So if you're familiar with Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1 basically takes you, he's Peter Parker is in high school. He's in high school here, but he graduates from high school shortly into the movie, and then he goes into college. So it's not like the Ultimate Spider-Man where he's in high school a lot, like he's just like 15 or whatever. He graduates from high school in this movie. So, and he gets bit by the radioactive spider. It's all the classic Spider-Man anthology. And this movie is basically based around him learning how to control his Spider-Man power, his newfound powers, and of course fighting the Green Goblin. The acting in this movie I thought was really well done, and a lot of people complained that that Tobey Maguire should not be playing Peter Parker. Listen to me, alright? If you even read the comics, in the comics there was no Alright, let me tell you this. I am a Spider-Man fanboy, so don't try to argue with me about it. In the comics, there was no definite look of Peter Parker, alright? The artists, those comics ran forever. They're probably one of the longest running, if not the longest running Marvel series ever. And throughout the years, they've had so many different artists that he's had so many different looks, right? Because they basically gave the artists the liberty to draw whatever they wanted him to look like, as long as it was reasonable. So he's had so many different looks. And, he's had the real classic, extremely nerdy look. He's had a extremely muscular look, and everywhere in between. In fact, I believe when the comics finally ended, because I don't think they're, I don't think they're still ongoing. When they finally ended, or throughout the 90s anyways, his look in the comics was that of being extremely muscular, and they basically took that look for the entire cartoon show. So there is no definite look of Peter Parker in the comics, so quit pretending like they have to meet some sort of a standard with him, because they don't, okay? Another problem people seem to have with this entire series is that Gwen Stacy's not in for the first one anyways, is that Gwen Stacy's not in this one. Mary Jane is. And I can probably tell you the reason why they picked Mary Jane instead of Gwen Stacy. It's true that Gwen Stacy was Peter Parker's first love interest. I'll admit. Alright? And it's also true that Peter as Spider-Man ended up accidentally killing her. But Mary Jane is not only the most recognizable of his many love interests, but also the most popular one too. And the one that most people such as myself think of when they think Peter Parker love interest. They think of Mary Jane. Because it's really the one that stuck. Okay? Ignore that. So yeah. So that's a pretty illogical argument. Another thing I really like about this movie is the villain, the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin is one of my favorite Marvel villains, and I think they really nailed it here. They spent just the right amount of time talking about the Green Goblin's backstory and giving him his powers and whatnot. And this movie scared me as a kid. Okay, this movie really scared me as a kid. In fact, all three of them scared me as a kid. But yeah. And the fight scenes were really good, but that comes with my first problem of the movie. I kind of wish there were more fight scenes between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. Like, let's see, how long was this movie? I'm sure it wasn't 2 hours though, and they could have probably added at least another half an hour of it with fighting between the two. Yeah, and probably the scariest part is actually when the Green Goblin ended up dying. That and when he was born. Both of those are definitely the most scariest parts of the movie. So yeah, I guess it's about it for this review. I know it's not a very long review, but not much to say if you're a Spider-Man fan. If you're not, well, then shame on you. The love interest, or the romantic relationship, was done pretty well as well. And you know, in this movie, this is the first movie where, this movie's where Peter Parker actually obtains a job at the Daily Bugle and whatnot, and yeah, but it's not without its flaws, though. There are points where I felt that the dialogue felt rather forced, and other points where I felt the actors were trying too hard to cover their roles. Does that detriment the movie a whole lot? A little bit, yes. But not too much to say it's a terrible movie. I really like this, genuinely like this movie. And it's a 2002 release. So for me to say I still like this movie to this day is really saying something. Alright, because it came out 10 years ago. I'm not exactly sure what month it was, but roughly 10 years ago it came out. And although there are some things in this movie that are dated, I still think it's a really great movie. So I'm gonna give Spider-Man a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, because I still think this movie is really great to this day. There's some things that are dated, but it's still worth going back and rewatching to this day. So yeah, so that's my review of Spider-Man 1. I will be reviewing the other two Spider-Man games as well, or movies as well, and I'm probably going to end up going to see The Amazing Spider-Man in theaters, and if I do, then I'll review it. If not, then I'll review it when I see it. So yeah, anyways, remember to rate, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and see you guys soon for watching. Bye-bye.